I'm Agent Ghost and welcome to the Archives, but before we begin, I have a question for you. Would you like to do something like this? Welcome back, and yeah, I wish for that too. If only. Well, anyway, on to the rest of the video. Hey, I just wanted to say that this is my one-shot sniper build, but I also want to give a shout out to all the legends out there that helped inspire me putting this build together. So thanks to them, and I also want to say the next build I plan on coming out with is a one-shot pistol variant. Think of it like the cousin or sibling of this build. Cool, thanks. Starting off with the specialization, I'm using the sharpshooter specialization for the headshot damage and weapon stability it gives you. Now for the main weapon that is going to be pulling all your absolute damage and one-shotting everything, the White Death Marksman Rifle. This is basically, you really want to have this weapon. The other two weapons, we'll get to them in a minute, they can be personal preference, but make sure you have the White Death. Here are the core attributes if you want to stop and pause the video, as well as the damage to targets out of cover is the attribute I roll on it. You can have damage to armor if you want as well, but really try and shoot for those two attributes, damage to targets out of cover and damage to armor. But the most important thing to make sure you have rolled on your White Death is the talent determined. And what that does is after killing an enemy with a headshot, the next shot landed on the enemy will be a guaranteed headshot. So what that means is after you get a headshot kill, if you get a body shot, for example, here, I'll show you actually real quick. There, I got a headshot there. Now, if I hit the body, it counts as a headshot. You can keep hitting headshots and keep it going, but as long as you get a kill and you hit them anywhere in their body, then it continues the chain of just constantly getting headshots. All right? Whoops. Wrong screen. All right. So make sure it has determined. If you can't get a White Death, you can also, they drop in Countdown targeted loot marksman rifles, but also you can get a custom M44. That's a decent alternative. It's still not as good as the White Death, but it is something that you might be able to get in the meantime until you get one. Same attributes and core attributes. You can pause, determined, make sure it has talent determined as well. And then here are the mods if you want to know what mods I have on for my custom M44. But yeah, White Death is what you really want to aim for, but that's an alternative if you don't have it. Moving on, I use the apartment SMG. You can get this from the Dark Zone or Countdown named caches, or really any named cache, and it has a chance to get it from there. That's where I got this one. It's basically my favorite secondary in the entire game. Like anytime that I don't have a specific set secondary, I put this as my secondary. I have thought about messing around making an actual primary build around it, but yeah, I love this thing. So reason why is for the talent perfectly measured. The top half of the magazine has 20% rate of fire and minus 27% damage. The bottom half of the magazine has minus 20% rate of fire and plus 33% total weapon damage. So just, it's a really good gun. I use it mainly in this build, or probably what you should use your secondary for is if somebody gets too close, I just pull it out and just gun them down. It's really good for strafing and fast-paced gameplay, so I just like it as my secondary. But you can put on whatever you want. You can put on any type of shotgun. If you want an exotic, you can do the Nemesis sniper rifle, which you have to get through the exotic quest done first. But as soon as you get that, you could use this. You could use the custom M4 if you want. Rock and roll, really, it really doesn't matter. Just make sure you're using the White Death. And then my pistol, I use the D50 with pistol damage targets out of cover, and again, the talent determined. And then there's the mod if you want to pause it. Moving on to the gear set, one of the biggest parts of this entire build, along with the White Death, and we're just going to go straight into the gear set bonuses. So 2 pieces gives you plus 30% marksman rifle damage and plus 30% weapon handling. So that affects our marksman rifle, the White Death, and if you're wanting the weapon handling, it affects everything under there in your weapon tree, which is accuracy, stability, reload time, and damage drop-off. Next is 3 pieces plus 30% headshot. This is all about getting headshots and one-shotting your enemy, so that plus 30% is just crucial. And then the most important out of all the gear set bonuses, the 4-piece. It's called Headache. First headshots with a marksman rifle. The first headshot with a marksman rifle will increase your next headshot by 20%. The second consecutive headshot with the marksman rifle will give you plus 10% armor. If at full health, it will give you bonus armor, max of 50% of current armor value. So that's really good. Actually quite exceptional. And then the third consecutive headshot will refill your magazine. And finally, from the 4th headshot forward, agents will get all 3 bonuses for each consecutive headshot. Kill missing a headshot will reset the cycle. So if you miss a headshot, it will reset this entire process to where you have to get up to 4 headshots in a row, which is much easier as long as you get your first headshot kill and get determined going. Then you can keep hitting them in the body and keep it going, which gives you plus 50% armor for the 3rd consecutive headshot. Or no, that's the second. My mistake. All right, moving on. We're just going to continue with the gear set first, and then we'll move on to the other pieces. So for the Hotshot holster, I have weapon damage plus 14.9%, and the attribute is plus 10% headshot damage. Knee pads, everything's the same with the gear set on all of them, so don't need to go over that. 13.3% weapon damage and plus 10% headshot damage for the regular attribute. Core attribute on this, I have rolled 170,000 armor just to give more survivability, and then the attribute is 8.7 headshot damage. Again, you can get that maxed out for even more headshot damage at 10%. So that's the gear set. Now that that's done, we're going to move on to the chest piece, which is called the Chain Killer, and it is the named Walker Harris chest piece. And just having the chest piece equipped, we get plus 5% weapon damage. Core attribute plus 15% weapon damage, and then regular attributes are 8.3% headshot damage, 8% weapon handling. You could have that really whatever you want. It could be crit hit chance, maybe even crit hit damage if you are happy with your crit hit chance, but I have weapon handling because, again, that affects everything in this tree on the weapon. Accuracy, stability, reload time, and damage drop-off. So that's why I have that, just to affect all that, and then a 9.7% headshot mod, which you can get maxed out at 10%. But the real reason is for the talent Perfect Headhunter, and that does, after killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals an additional 150% of the killing blow's damage. Damage is capped to 800% of your weapon damage. This is raised, however, to 1,250% if your headshot damage is greater than 150%. So a part of this build right now, like with my sniper rifle, I have 312% headshot damage, and we'll get more to the stats later, but you need to make sure you at least with your headshot damage have 150%, so that way it is raised to that 1,250% value, because that is just extra 450% damage right there alone, so that's just crazy. Now to the last earpiece is the Liquid Engineer Bellstone Armory backpack, and again, you can get these from name caches. I believe it is Dark Zone. I will make a note if where it drops, if you can get it in Countdown or Dark Zone, because I don't recall right now. So, moving on though to the, it gives to the brand set, just equipping it, you get 1% armor regen for the Bellstone Armory brand set, and then the core attribute, I have 124,235 armor. You can get that maxed out to 170,000. The regular attributes, I have 6% crit hit chance, 8.4% headshot damage, and a maxed out 10% headshot damage mod. Then for the talent, now this is, you can use other backpacks if you want. Like for example, we'll get to that actually, another example in a second, but the reason why is this talent just gives you so much survivability. So let's get into it. Perfect Bloodsucker. Killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 12% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Max stacks is 10. So each time you kill an enemy, you're getting a 12% bonus armor on top of Hot Shots. Second consecutive kill with a marksman rifle will give 10% armor. If at full, it will give a bonus of 50% armor. So that stacks with one another. So when that happens, the reason why I love this backpack with this build is I'll just keep on getting kills and headshots, and you can just see my armor is just stacking to just give me that much more of a cushion from when I'm sniping. Now, you don't always just want to, you know, face tank. You want to stay behind cover and use the cover system like this and readjust and stuff like that. But you can see how big my armor is getting because of this backpack and hotshot. It is just crazy. An alternative that you can use, though, if you don't have this or want this, is the gift, which is the Providence Defense named backpack. Now, I do know for a fact that this is in a Dark Zone drop, but you can also get it in a name cache. That's when I got this one. I've gotten a couple other ones as well, which just luck. So, you know, if you can't get this, you can farm for just the regular Providence Defense backpack. And for equipping it, you get plus 15% headshot damage. And I have 11.9% weapon damage. In the core attribute, the regular attribute is plus 6% crit hit chance and plus 10% headshot damage. And I would just throw the highest headshot damage mod you can throw in there. But the reason why is because this comes with perfect vigilance. Now, if you were just having the regular Providence Defense backpack, you would just make sure that talent is vigilance. But for perfect vigilance, it increases total weapon damage by 25%. Taking damage disables this buff for 3 seconds. So the only difference between this and regular vigilance, I actually have it rolled right here, is 1 second. So you have to wait 1 extra second between vigilance and perfect vigilance. So it's really not that big a deal, but you can use any of those types of backpack with this build. But I use this for the survivability, and you can still pretty much one-shot almost everything. There are some named targets and juggernaut enemies, or there are just enemies that run around in the game that have helmets, and the helmets are specifically designed to where you cannot one-shot them, so you have to shoot them more than once. But most enemies with this setup and this backpack, you'll just have that much more survivability and still have the damage to one-shot most things. So moving on to the abilities, we're going to start off with the Reviver Hive. It's pretty self-explanatory. Here are the mods I have on it if you want to pause and take a look at that, but the main reason I have it is just to have an extra life. An alternative, though, if you don't want that, is the Fixer Drone. I think it is a great pairing with the other ability that we have, and you can just have it for that much more survivability if, for whatever reason, you don't want to use the Reviver Hive. The other ability I have is Decoy, and I mainly use this, like in the description, as a distraction. A lot of the time, especially like I use this build, works perfectly fine on Heroic and any difficulty. Even with all the global directives, I've used this build all the time for having all the global directives on, and you can still absolutely work well. But the main one I want to point out with the global directives is cool skills, which when one skill is activated, the other is put on cooldown. So if I were to have that on and then throw out my decoy, my Reviver Hive, just to show you how long it would take, I'm going to throw that out as well as an example. This would be disabled and it would be, oh wait, well, I had skill haste turned on. I forgot to turn that off. But what would happen if I didn't have skill haste on? I'd have to wait 165 seconds before my reviver Hive is back up by just using the other skill. But with this build, all your damage is with one-shotting enemies and sniping them, so you don't really have to worry about your abilities. They're not the primary focus. I mainly use the decoy to distract people, and sometimes, again, if you have all the global cooldowns, there's another one called... We'll just read that real quick. Pistoler, I cannot pronounce that. I'm not going to butcher it. I apologize. But what it does is start with no ammo. Hostile killed with a sidearm are the only ammo source. So each time you have all of them on, that is another one where all you can use is your pistol. So I'll throw out my decoy and let the enemy shoot at it, and then use my pistol to kill them like so. And then make sure you're always targeting red armies to build red health enemies to build your stacks first. You need to prioritize hitting the red enemies first to get all your headshots and your stacks up to do maximum damage from Headhunter. Perfect Headhunter. So that's pretty much the build for this part. We're going to go over the stats and then we'll move on to the final footage. My weapon stats, I have over 1,016,728 weapon damage. Not PvP, but there's the stats if you want it. 15.6 crit hit chance, 39.6% crit hit damage, 312% headshot damage, which again, you only need 150, but this is just all that much more headshot damage. And quick note, on my shield watch, I have almost everything unoffensive maxed out. I'm very close with those, but I just wanted to point out I have 0 out of 50 in headshot damage. So if you're worried about me being 739 shield, that has nothing to do with this 312 headshot damage. That is just gear and mods. So you can achieve that as long as you find the right gear and the right stats. And as you saw earlier, there are still stats that I could max out to make it even stronger. I have 48% reload speed, 48% accuracy, 62.4% stability, 38% weapon swap speed, 38% weapon handling, and 20% ammo capacity. On offensive, I have 81.2% all weapon damage bonus, 59.1% marksman rifle damage bonus, 15% submachine gun damage bonus, and 15% damage bonus. Pistol damage bonus. Already went over that. Defense, I have over 1 million armor, 10,000 armor regen, 307,000 max health, and yeah, here are the rest of the stats. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Be safe and take care. Oh, hello there. Wow, I wasn't supposed to leave this footage in, but, you know, this is awkward now. Anyway, thank you, future me.